Welcome back, my friends. Major League Baseball action. It is Monday, September the 27th, 2021, early afternoon here on the East Coast, and I have the brilliant MLB guru, Dr. Chuck, in the house. And speaking of gurus, I guess it's plural because
That's right.
I didn't even notice, but the people at Sportsmemo that produce our shows pointed out that we were 9-0 last week on the gridiron. That's pretty impressive. You and I were 4-0, and then the NFL panel that you are part of on Thursdays went 5-0 with I mean that's just amazing, but it does show how hard everybody does work, and when it all comes together, it is something else. So if that's not reason enough to watch these quick hitting shows, then perhaps watching paint dry would be more enjoyable.
Yeah.
But we thank everybody for watching our shows. We really like it. We're growing like weeds, and it's a lot of fun. But this show, we're going to get to the Major League Baseball action, which is getting really, really super exciting here down the stretch. Most teams have 6 games to go. In the standings, as we said, Tampa Bay's already clinched, but the Yankees swept Boston. If we remember earlier in the season, Boston did that to the Yankees in the Bronx, so they returned the favor and now have a 1-game lead over Boston in the wild card race, sitting in second place in the AFC. Toronto's 2 games behind Toronto and really has a mountain more than that. It's like double the size of Mount Everest to climb over both Boston and the Yankees, because Boston plays 6 games against terrible teams, and if they don't do what the Phillies have been doing, they probably will win 5 of those 6, and they will comfortably leapfrog back over the Yankees, who have a much more difficult schedule going on down the road. In the National League, it's basically who's going to win the National League East. It's pretty much going to be St. Louis against the Dodgers, possibly. Could be the Giants, but isn't it a shame? And we always say this. One of the 2 best teams this season in Major League Baseball is going to be eliminated before we really get into the 7-game series. And that has to change, I think. I don't know how you change it, but that's a different show. But we're going to take a look at one of the teams that you and I both thought was going to do quite well, and that is the Oakland A's. And they are playing Seattle tonight. They're actually hosting them, and that game is set to start at 10:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Seattle has right-handed pitcher Flexen, 13-6, 3.56 ERA, going up against the lefty Irvin, who I just love this kid. He's pitching for Oakland, 10-14 record, 3.99 ERA. Where do we go to bet this game, Chuck?
Ooh, I like that you said that you love Irvin, because I love that kid too. I love both these kids. Flexen has been someone that, we have hit pretty hard this season, and with a lot of success. And if you're just looking at something to hit quickly, I am on the Mariners as the home team in the first 5 money line, which actually at some books is flipped, and I think that's definitely the right side. I don't have a big solid take on full game. The A's are going to feel like they probably need this more, even though I think the Mariners are the only team with a chance. But you bring up a good point. As fun as this has been to watch them, and the Mariners with that nice sweep last week, it's going to be hard to stop those AL East teams, or AFC teams, from getting those wild card spots. Unfortunately, as fun as this has been, and especially with how clutch the Mariners have been. We were just talking before we went on air. They have 32 one-run wins this season, and they've averaged being a dog in those games, about a plus 110 dog in those 32 wins. So just impressive. I had to go full game. I would probably lean towards that as well, but I really do like the nice short number on Flexen to, worst case scenario push that first 5 money line with the M's.
Yeah, I like that. I like it a lot, Dr. Chuck. And I was thinking of some player props as we were studying this game together, and I do think I'm going to go to the window with a few. In this matchup between the A's and the Mariners, the player props that I am looking at here, I think number of strikeouts, I like Irvin over 3.5. I don't like the minus 120. Maybe you can shop around and get it better. I'm looking at BetMGM. But I'm going to go with Irvin having more than 3.5 strikeouts. On the flip side, I'm going to go with Chapman being plus 320 to hit a home run, and he's .5. So he's either going to have zero or he's going to have more than zero. But I think at 320, looking at the history of when he gets hot, when he's not, and the likelihood probability is it's higher today than, let's say, any other day I've seen in the last 10, per my model. So it's based on probabilities. And I think he actually, I think he might do two things, Chuck. I think he might hit a home run, and I think he might strike out in this game. So there you go. But I like the 320 with Chapman in this game, and Irvin to get more than 3.5 strikeouts.
Yeah,
let's move on to
the Chapman boom or bust is always good. You might cash both.
That's right. And it's pizza money, folks. And when I say pizza money, some places pizzas are $9. Some places they're $20.
Get that
the point is, you're not betting like a fool on player props, and unless there's good reason. When I say pizza money, it's analytical, but it's also a gut feeling that something's going to happen. All right, so now we're going to move on to the Nationals and the Rockies. This game is interesting because it's in Colorado, where the ball definitely flies further. And in this matchup, we have Gray, right-handed pitcher, 1-2, 5.92 ERA, pitching for Washington. Colorado counters with I think a pretty underrated pitcher in his own right, Marquez, righty, 4.32 ERA, 12-10 record. I think he'd probably have 18 wins if he was on the Dodgers. Who do we bet on in this game?
Oh, absolutely. And this is, unfortunately, like you said, most teams have 6 games left. So this is an unbelievably short card, especially doing the video now. There's 3 matinee games, but only 2 tonight. But this is actually the one that I like the best. It's another first 5 spot, but it's on the Rockies run line. You're going to get about minus 125 on that. And it's one of those things we discuss ad nauseum. The Rockies are favored. They're favored for a reason. And Marquez at home as a favorite of $1.50 or bigger. The Rockies are 22-4. And narrowing that down further, just on that run line, they are 19-7 just in the first 5, which does sound like it's less, but that's because they have to have that lead. If you want to just do the money line on that first 5, you're getting a 24-2 run of not losing on that money line. So that doesn't include all wins, but it's a 24 of 26. You're not losing your bet proposition here on the Rockies at home. In addition, like you mentioned, Josiah Gray doesn't have it. I don't know if he's going to get it. I don't know if the Dodgers really fleeced the Nats, not only getting Scherzer and Trey Turner somehow, but the major piece coming back has been a big disappointment. And on top of all of this, the Nats arrive in Coors tonight with a plus 23 VMI. We talk about plus VMI being good. It's too high. You go north of 16, and there's a little bit too much movement on Marquez's stuff tonight, and might make the Nats offense look even worse.
Yeah, and that's where I'm going with on the prop bet too, because of that and a few other things, but mainly because of that. I'm seeing in the wagertalk.com odds portal under 5.5 runs for Washington is my prop bet for this game. It's minus 130. I hate that, but I gotta say that if I could offer under 6.5, under 4.5, I think I would do it. Because I'm seeing over 4.5, paying minus 130 right now. So that would actually make it plus money to bet under. So maybe like half a pizza, 4.5 under at plus money, and then the other half of the pizza with mushrooms and sausage on 5.5 under. So that's a very short card, but I want to just cap off one thing with the National League East. And, when you don't score any runs against what I think is the worst team in years in the National League, and that's not Arizona, but rather Pittsburgh, there's something wrong. You score 3 runs against a pitcher, Crow. You have Suarez, lefty, who's pitching really, really well for the Phillies. They give him no run support. Then they lose 6-0. And granted, they had Krause pitching, and I believe that was his major league debut. But he did well. he did well enough to win. Let's put it that way. And the bullpen for the Phillies comes into Atlanta now probably with the best 7-game stretch they've had all year. Their ERA's in the low twos, which for the Phillies is unheard of. But whether they can jump over the Braves or not, it's going to take an act like the Yankees did to Boston. Philly has Wheeler, Nola, Gibson going, and those are the three I would want. The only concern I have is Nola is a night and day pitcher. When you look at his ERA on the road versus the ERA at home, it's like a tale of two different people. And then Atlanta's countering with lefty Fried, Anderson, righty. Morton goes game one, then Fried, and then Anderson, with Morton and Anderson being the two righties. So I'm thinking that instead of doing a prop bet, if you like Philly, to actually win the division, because they have 3 games at Miami, where they from time to time have struggled, but they have Suarez, Krause, and Wheeler pitches the finale. I can see them winning those 3 games on Harper's bat. I can definitely see that happening. So the Phillies could get 2 out of 3. I think the way you play this, Chuck, is you take the dog, and that would be the Phillies in all 3 games instead of the series price. And you know, instead of a 4% bet, we make it a 1% money line bet. And if you win, you take that plus your winnings and put it on the second game. If that wins, you go again. And that'll pay off a lot better than trying to do like a 3 or 4%er on the series price, which has not been released yet, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere close to the ROI that the Phillies would gain if they took 2 out of 3 over the next 3 games. And then we'll have to see. But granted, this is a reach. I'm not doing it because of any other reason that there's tremendous value right now back in the Phillies. And it ain't over till it's over.
Well, and so just piggybacking on you mentioned it earlier, but the only other race that has these kind of lines up and futures, etc., is the West. And you brought it up a little bit, just what a crime this is kind of. The Cardinals are shortening that gap with the Dodgers just because they're being the Cardinals. But otherwise, it's just insane what a crime this is, because not only are one of these teams, and it's looking more and more like the Dodgers, the champs, are they going to be penalized because they're in the same division as the Giants, but they might be playing a week from today. Like, what, there's no guarantee.
All or nothing.
There's no guarantee they're not playing a week from today to determine who has to then play the next day in a wild card matchup and against the Cardinals. And we haven't seen the Cardinals have 6 games left. They may not lose until then. And so I don't know. It's just, it is really a shame for someone that doesn't want to see a team like the Cardinals make the World Series. But, I guess the rules are the rules, and what can you do? But hard to fathom a couple of 100-win teams, and this is what it comes down to.
Yeah, it is. And the Dodgers, we talked about last week, are potentially going to break the record for a reigning World Series champion number of wins. They currently have 100. The record is 103, set back by those Baltimore Orioles in 1971, who had 4 20-game starting pitcher winners on that squad.
Yesterday was the anniversary of Jim Palmer being the 4th starter. He got his 20th win 50 years ago yesterday. So I heard that, and I was like, "Oh, John."
Yep. So even that, that kind of history, and you're throwing the Dodgers or the Giants into a 1 game against a team that nobody wants to play, the Cardinals. And historically, when they get in the playoffs, it doesn't matter what their regular season record was, and they are a scary team because that win streak, that was through a gauntlet of tough teams. It was a direct opposite of what the Phillies had. Phillies had cupcakes, whereas I don't even know what the opposite of a cupcake is. Of steel, like eating steel versus a cupcake. But the Cardinals overcame it, and they are peaking at the right time. And if I was the Dodgers, that would be the last team I'd want to play in the face of the earth right now in a 1-game winner take all. Wow,
gross. Yeah.
So there you have it for Monday. Make sure you listen to our other videos throughout the week, and hopefully we can keep this perfect 9-0 win streak going for you guys. We really appreciate you listening. So on behalf of Dr. Chuck, myself, sportsmemo.com, wagertalk.com, May all the wins be yours.